is that actually going to update this frame? So let's just go double check that this does what we want. So we're going to be looking for set collision channel map. And we can actually get the physics component directly if we want. We don't need to do that, I don't think. The only thing we'd want to do that for is if, like, we got hit in the head by a projectile. Alright, so set collision channel map will reset the map. We will set the map to a new reference. If the source flipbook collision is not each frame custom collision, otherwise we'll recreate the physics state. Recreating the physics state will what we actually need to do is we need to set all the types for these things, and just calling recreate physics state is not enough. We need to actually call flipbook change physics state is what it looks like. Different is going to be true if object content hash, the content hash is that. But if our channel is different, we're setting it to world dynamic, the channel. Alright, we do have a check for if the body setup channel is set up properly. We just need to call flipbook change physics state is what it looks like. So set collision channel map. We actually need to call flipbook change physics state. And we don't need to call recreate physics state because it'll actually already do that. Oh no, I've edited core code. Son of a bitch. That means it's gonna compile next time. It's gonna take forever. And the same thing here is gonna have to happen. So let's see if that works.
Look at you, hacker. A pathetic creature of meat and bone, panting and sweating as you run through my corridors. How can you challenge a perfect, immortal machine?
All the things. Critical error. We have pure virtual not implemented. What? What is this bitching about? This is not very helpful. This is not a very helpful error message whatsoever. Let's Google what the hell this is. T-maps can't be used as parameters or return values. Oh god. Okay, well that's just total bullshit. Like that is a complete garbage error message. That is not what it should have. So the issue is that we cannot do that. I cannot have this be a U function callable from something else because we can't pass in a map. And of course, that error message is what's supposed to tell us that, which is complete garbage. I think I've run into that once before. I was just like, why can't you just say maps aren't supported, or like type not supported, and give me a line number for the Unreal Header tool where it's actually taking a look at the function you're trying to mark up. Or how about you just support maps? They're a pretty common data structure. And you support T arrays, why not T maps? What is this bitching about? Think about how to different version of the compiler. What? Syntax error identifier.
Look at you, hacker.
You don't know what an identity group is?
Pathetic creature of
Thought.
meat and bone.
Like we got object.h included, we do not have.
Through my corridors. How can you challenge a perfect, immortal machine?
I guess that makes sense. We don't have the constants defined. So why don't we just do that? Dashkin a constants.
You weren't meant to be. You think to destroy.
Well, thankfully we've got the internet to tell us things that are all busted. Don't tell me I'm gonna have to rebuild the whole frickin' thing to get the precompiled headers to work. I don't want to do that. Probably because I rebuilt my machine just this last week. This environment map doesn't exist. Well, we could fix that. Yeah, that's like one of the funniest things. Google is just so good at solving problems that there's a few plugins I think that just you can like just type in like some problem and it'll take the first post on Stack Overflow and try to compile it. just use it. I think it's like some Python Python helper thing. You're like sort string Python and just go Stack Overflow first post, grab it and use it. I also like that the way that you the easiest way to like reverse MD5 hashes is just to Google the hash. Oh yeah, that's how you spell collision channel. Collision map for type not found. Well, it's because I didn't actually give you a class declaration, did I? Let's see, did I screw up any other class declarations? Yes, I did. Conversion to enumerated type requires an explicit cast. our argument went from entity physics type to entity group. Collision map for oh yeah, because we're not actually setting the entity. Yeah, this is we're not there's any groups and entity types. Entity types are like bitey or fat sack or whatever. An entity group is like player or terrain or whatever the hell. So I need to rename this stuff. It's not all garbage. Entity type name. It's like, why is it getting all screwed up? Because I screwed it all up, that's how. So we got the entity type, and we also need the entity group. Set entity. Nothing crazy, return it group. Gotta grab that entity group, gotta set that entity group as well. So, where are we getting this entity group from? Is that on our set entity type? I'm calling that from right here. We're also going to want to set entity group to unknown. Let's see if our entity data actually has the entity group on it. It does have the entity group on it, so that should set our group, which should set all of our physics and set our type, and then we gotta go deal with this precompiled header nonsense. Try to just rebuild only the one plugin. That's what it should be called. Let's just double group and group and type is new type. This should be new group and group. Group of the component. Alright, that looks proper. New types undefined. I think Amuro Ray is going to be upset about that. Well, while this is compiling, I can kind of talk about other things. We've got our our game structured a little bit differently than a lot. Because normally you have like Dashkin is the actual project, and our code actually isn't in Dashkin. Like this is just a bunch of garbage in here. That's just like some example actors that we've been putting together. The actual code is inside of the Dashkin plugin, which is where all the things are. And the reason we did that is so we can have an editor extension plugin, so I can add stuff to the Unreal Editor. And then, it's kind of a chicken and egg problem. The editor needs to access, the editor plugin we made needs to access all the data structures that we've created for Dashkin, because it needs to like make all of our characters, right? That just kind of makes sense. So we had to take all of our game code and put it in another plugin, and basically the editor extension plugin relies on the runtime plugin, and the runtime plugin has the actual stuff in it. So we have kind of a structure you might not expect. Anyway, let's see. Paper tube D. We need to rebuild just you. How do we rebuild just you? Because if I have to do a rebuild, it's like, go get some food. Yeah, these guys don't have solutions themselves. Alright, so it's going to be Real Ed Beverage. So engine source editor. Editor. Public. Oh crap, I have no idea where this is. Alright, well, looks like we're just gonna have to clean the solution and rebuild it. It's saying I can't delete these things? Is that because these are in Perforce here? Enginebinaries.net. Enginebinaries.net iOS crash report. Stuff is actually in here. And so what we're gonna do is exe dll configs. Yeah, we're gonna check these out and do a new change list, and we're gonna make them RW+. We moved Perforce a couple times, and some of those things needed to change. Do the same thing for these binaries. Just make sure they're writable in the workspace. Yeah, C++ development is like always super exciting. It's amazing. We're getting like all the dependencies like sorted out, and we're building the things, and we're dealing with perforce, and it's great. It's just amazing. This is what I live for. Ugh. You see this command line going? This is the best. This is what development's about. It's about watching this. Yeah, we're gonna clean some test.pal binaries and some shader compiler workers, and yeah, that just gets me going. So we're gonna build the project, all of it. You want to climb something? It's just get on your chair. Just don't fall off of it though, and don't break your hand, because we need your hands. You can break anything else, like you can break your kneecaps. That's okay with me. Just like we need those magical fingers still working. And that isn't a non-sexual way. That is in a we need you to be able to draw all the cool shit way. So awesome. This is gonna take like frickin' 30 goddamn minutes, isn't it? So performance, yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Need hands, also eyes. Yeah, don't hurt your eyes. We need those special eyes. There we go. We'll throw the stopwatch over in the corner. So we know exactly how long this is going to take. So what tales can I regale people with while we wait for the build to build? Let's see. Is there anything anybody is interested in? I love watching the console output. Yeah. We had a whole ASCII art like batch file which had all sorts of crazy crap in it back at EA2D. I'll see if I can actually find that. It's got some cool shit in it. So if you work with Docker and Node, I'm guessing you're some kind of engineer doing all the fun things. Welcome, Karakan. How was your day going? Let's see, gotta rebuild all the things. That's not it. Yeah, we had this pretty awesome batch file when we're working on Dragon Age Legends. We got all sorts of sweet ASCII art in it, like people getting kicked off of ledges, and elites running around working. So when you're building all this stuff, it would, like when it would recompile, it would print out all this crap. Because all the designers would be sitting around just like waiting for the databases to rebuild and crap like that. So I threw all this ASCII art in there. So it became like a habit. People would grab ASCII art for whatever the hell they could to throw it in places. I think we had like in our XML files, I know we had the protection ogre. We had this big ogre, ASCII ogre in the XML file that people would put in there, and if the ogre was there, it was like don't freaking touch this XML file. That's because we were using get for stuff as opposed to brute force, so we couldn't lock any of the files. So somebody go edit something and be like, well, there was an ogre on that, you son of a bitch. You got you screwed everything up. Other than that, what else? Can we go over other things? Like we're at 264 out of 383 compiled modules, so maybe it's not going to take 30 million years to build this thing. But what else can we talk about? I can share a story of one of my one of the worst bugs I ever had to deal with when I was working in college. One of the worst bugs ever to deal with that I had to deal with in college, and that was basically this networking bug where we had a multiplayer game where you're flying spaceships around and blowing each other up, kind of top-down spaceship sort of combat game. And it was a 16-player multiplayer. And this was also the first multiplayer game I had written, so it was written awfully. And basically what happened is if it was running in release mode, so no debugging, and it was running great, and it had to be running at like 60 plus frames per second minimum. And you couldn't have anything stop, and you had to have like more than 8 machines connected at the same time to the same server. And then if one of them disconnected, then randomly maybe one of the other ones would crash. And so in order to like actually figure out what the hell was going on with this thing, I would have to go hijack like the front 2 rows of the computer lab in school, right? So I'd be there with like 8 machines running around with an executable that I just built on one of the machines in the back, and have to copy this to all these machines and then run them and enter the profile and get to the server and then get them started and write in the map, and then I had to figure out what the hell was going on. And of course, if I added any debugging into the thing, the bug wouldn't happen. So I spent like all day running around doing this crap, just like restarting machines and like adding like text boxes and other printouts that wouldn't screw up the debugging to try to narrow down what the hell this crash was. And it just, every time I wanted to rerun a test, I had to just spend like 15 minutes running around, and I had absolutely no idea in the project where this crash was even really happening, because I didn't get a call stack or any of that crap, because I'm in college. I don't know how to set up a damn thing properly with debugging. Anyway, it all boils down to the very first networking code I had written for the disconnect used the array index of the person who had connected for the disconnect function. This is literally like the only thing. And I would send the array index over the network. So what happened is randomly one of them would use the wrong array index, and that array index would be the wrong player, and it would freak the hell out and crash. And it was one of those, like, you never send like an array index as an ID for an object over the network, because an array index is like it's a local construct for that machine. So it would be like if I was telling you to find something on your desk, and I was saying, and I'd say like, oh, it's next to the notebook. And you're like, I don't have a notebook on my desk. So I'm like, that's cool. Buy a new desk. You know, like that sort of crap. It was pretty funny that this bug only manifested like literally, 8 months after I'd written the code, and only in that very specific situation. Just son of a bitch. It's just kind of how it goes, I guess. So for all the people joining in, we're just still waiting for this to compile, which is great. There are also some really fun times on Dragon Age Legends. We had kind of an interesting setup on Dragon Age Legends. If you're not familiar with Dragon Age Legends, it was a Facebook game, and basically you had your stable of heroes, and you took your heroes out on quests, and you got them sweet ass equipment, and we didn't actually have butt armor, but we did have cool hats. Yeah, cool stuff. We did have cool hats for our characters, and what would happen is we were connecting to the back-end servers over TCP because I wanted to make a multiplayer game, and TCP allows full duplex, so bidirectional communication. And of course, that's not what the internet runs on. Like, people, what am I doing right now? I'm compiling, so I'm doing nothing. I'm trying to work on the physics Caracan. I'm getting it so that the physics objects are the right types. So if you are a piece of the environment, that it's actually like the piece of the environment. So all the Facebook games in the world run off of HTTP and not TCP directly, because HTTP works in your corporate network because it's standard. It's like if you go to Google, you're communicating over HTTP. And so we were running Dragon Age Legends over TCP, and that got blocked by just about everybody. It was stupid that we're using it. And also, it was a Flash program. And to use TCP, you have to like serve files over. You have to serve like a cross-domain file over like port 843 on the box, which it's to guarantee that you're able to run as administrator on that box. So it's to prevent like cross-site scripting, horrible hacks with Flash. It's a really stupid thing, but cross-domain policy security files are a thing. And I remember one time live, like Flash pushed out an update which changed how the cross-domain policy files like got served. And because we were supposed to be able to serve that on any port, but they changed it so you had to serve it out of the port that you were connecting over TCP on. And the request for the policy file was just opening a connection and then sending like just a couple bytes or something. So the issue was like, we used to be able to serve it over just the port we were using, but it got changed, and so we had to serve it over 843. All right, thanks for hosting, Caracan. Bringing all the millions of viewers. So all of a sudden, basically, production went down because we needed to serve our cross-domain policy files on port 843, and we were serving the game on like port 8080 or something, which sucked. So it was good at least. This like horrible outage happened during the day, and we were there. I think it was like 2 in the afternoon or something. And so we get into our engineer huddle. We're like, all right, what the hell just happened? Nothing works. We need, trying to figure out like, okay, it's a cross-domain policy file, because the symptoms for that would be like you boot up the game and it just says can't connect, and you're like, oh crap, like That's not helpful. Thank you for following Stealth Mountain. Because everything with networks is like, you can't connect. Great. That's just not fun. So basically, yeah, billions, literally billions. Oh god, yeah. Okay, so now we're really recompiling the engine. We are on 18 out of 1800 for this crap. So yeah, we're gonna be here a little while. So we figured out, okay, Kraft's main policy file needs to be served. It needs to be served out of port 843. Crap. That means we need to have a process running as root on our boxes, and we have like, this is production, so we got, lots of servers. And we don't run stuff as root on our boxes because it's bad policy to run stuff as root on your boxes, because then if that program gets compromised, everything's screwed. How similar is C++ to C? C is, you don't have classes and stuff like that, so object-oriented programming where you're like, okay, I have an entity object and I have an update function on the entity object, and that's how I do things. C is much more like, I have a collection of functions which operate upon entities, and you kind of work that way. So you'll write like entity update, and then you'll pass in a pointer to an entity structure, which has data on it. So your data in your code is separate. But they're very similar in like just the text and all that, but they're very different in how you program inside of them and how you use them. I find writing a really good C program, a really well written C program is some of the best code and like very easy to understand stuff you could ever write. C++ is just lends itself to overcomplicated, horrible fun times, but it's also very good at compartmentalizing everything off, so you can write horribly large programs. Anyway, so we had to get back and actually fix this problem, and like, yeah, C is a really good place to start. So starting there is that's how we started in college. They started us off with C and Borland and GCC and stuff like that. So you had to figure out how to fix this thing, and the platform team on Dragon Age Legends, we all hated each other, and this is like not the sarcastic we hated each other, but like literally we hated each other. And so we're sitting there and we're trying to figure out how to solve this problem, and everybody has different solutions. Like, okay, we need to set up Nginx on this port and set up like a load balancer in front of it and do all this stuff to like reroute connections, and it was probably the better solution to do that, but they all wanted to do that, and like I just got pissed off at production being down and everybody's just sitting around talking, so I just go back to my desk and I'm just typing away, and I write a server that just all it does is sit on port 843 and serve like this XML file that I just like copy pasted as a string to the top of the file for the program, and just like made a jar file that just ran that thing, and just like then dumped it on all the servers and ran it. Not even as a service, just screw it, just FTP'd it out there to like the 10 game servers we needed it on manually, and started it as root. And then after, and it only took me like 20 or 30 minutes to do all this, and they're still in the damn meeting room talking about how they're gonna solve the problems. I just like roll back into the meeting room, and I'm like, so yeah, while you're in here talking, I fixed production, and it's good now. So yeah, we're gonna get back to our tasks. And it was one of those moments where this hastily written, horribly conceived piece of technology ends up that ended up being a permanent solution, of course. where he had this piece of crap program I wrote in like half an hour to like jury rig production together. Turned into that's the solution for us. So that's kind of how development went on that team. It was a lot of fun. It was pretty funny because like I sat right next to the vice president there at EA. He sat literally like right behind me. Like if this is the room, the vice president's sitting in the corner because he's important and he gets the corner spot, and I'm like right here, and my monitors are like facing this way, so he can like see everything I do. So basically, all the platform guys, like if this is the office, are in like this meeting room over here with this glass wall, and he can see all the people on the platform team like talking. And I like come out all angry and shit, and just like go over to my desk, spend 30 minutes, and then like, you know, I like turn around after 30 minutes, and like production's back online, and I go back into the meeting room, and I'm like the most junior engineer there. So from his point of view, this like junior engineer comes storming out of this meeting, comes back, angrily pounds out some piece of crap program on his desk, pushes it live, and then goes back into the meeting room. Yeah. We had a damn dysfunctional team there. Wow. So I think we still got another like 25 minutes to build all this crap, so let's go with some more war stories. Probably the best thing that platform team did was after people resigned and all that stuff got shook up. We actually became kind of a bit of a better cohesive team. Like we didn't hate each other because the people we hated all left, or at least the people I hated all left, and I was kind of the problem with kind of if I hated people, the team didn't really gel. You know, some people are really good at like hating people but like staying professional. I've gotten a lot better at that, but man, I was just an asshole right out of college. But we needed to ship Dragon Age Legends on Google Plus when it came out. And you may not know this, but Google Plus is kind of a big deal. And when it came out, it was, you know, it was super secret and not many people knew it was coming. And we needed to like get all this cool stuff on there because it's a brand new social platform. It's going to be bigger than Facebook. So we needed to ship Dragon Age Legends on Google Plus. It was totally hard-coded for Facebook. So the platform team, you know, we're not the game team. It was up to the platform team to just quote-unquote make it work. So what we did is we moved to what we called the fish tank. So the office is like this square, right? And then we had like the rest of the floor, and there's this big glass-walled meeting room, which could fit maybe like, you know, 30 people if you're all friendly, you know, for standing room. And so we moved from the main floor, you know, like the game is still live, you know, people would run over and be like, production's down, or we need something done. They moved us into this fish tank, is what we called it, and they just, nobody could come talk to us because we had an important job to do. We're gonna ship on Google Plus, you know, we're gonna make tons of money. And we're in there for like 6 weeks, and the place is just, you know, we're sweating, the ventilation sucks, and we formed this little circle of desks all facing each other, and we're just hacking everything together. And you know, the game team's like, you know, banging on the door, like, help us, you know, production's down, and we're just like, get the fuck out of here, we don't want to hear it, we're busy, we're doing important things. Yeah, Google Plus, amazing. And so we were able to actually do it. We got the game working on Google Plus when it shouldn't have. It was really funny. The game team guys, the game programmers who had set up like the friend bars and all these other things that are all hard-coded to Facebook were just like, how in the hell did you get it to work with, you know, this completely separate process and social networking? Well, it was a lot of like, we did things to the code that the writer of the code would not do to the code. So it was a kind of a homunculus of things patched together. We got it working. And it was great because like on the day of the launch, like the producer rolls in, and we've got everything working, and one of the guys had like busted out this bottle of wild turkey, and so we're in there in this very poorly ventilated room, and the producer comes in to like congratulate us, and he opens the door, and all of a sudden, you just see his face go, ugh, because we're in there drinking like wild turkey, which smells like shit, and so we just all smell like booze and body odor. Producer's like, yeah, you did a great job, guys, and just leaves. that was our celebration. One of the grandest hacks for getting the game working on Google Plus was Facebook IDs used to be long integers, so 64-bit integer numbers, and in the database we were storing 64-bit numbers. And back in August, we went on Google Plus in like April or something. Back before we had even gotten like Dragon Age Legends off the ground, I had this big fight with the then tech lead about using long numbers for IDs in our database, because I was like, yeah, it's super exciting. So I was saying like we should store the ID of the user in the database as a string, which is a series of characters. So it's bigger and all that stuff. And he was like, no, it's going to be it's always going to be longs. Just do it. I'm the tech lead. Go to hell. And so I just, what I did was I set up everything in the database so it actually used strings, completely against his orders. And I just changed the code that he looked at, so all the code said that it was a long. So we converted to a long when it loaded it from the database. The database was all like nicely set up with strings, and the code was all set up with long numbers. And it was really funny because when we were going to switch to Google Plus had string IDs for all the users. And this guy, who was no longer the tech lead, he was kind of a senior on the project, is like, oh god, like we're gonna have to change all the databases, everything's screwed, like fundamentally we have to overhaul the entire project and server systems because nothing uses strings, they use longs, and this is just awful. It's gonna take us a month. And I just like go over and I'm just like, actually, they're already strings. And it's just like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, yeah, so remember how I never listened to you? I didn't listen to you, and I've been lying about the database structure for the past 8 months. And we're actually already done with that. I just need to go like control replace long with string for our IDs and code, and we're finished. Like, we're just done. It'll just work. Because I had done the same thing around the transport layers, and I had told the game team that it was a string. So yeah, that was great. That was some total bullshit. Oh yeah, me and that tech lead did not get along. We actually had like an argument in front of the producer. Like, I was the junior engineer right out of college, and like this tech lead is there, and he's saying like, well, you're just gonna do whatever the hell you want anyway, so I don't care. And I'm just like, yeah, like, go to hell. And we're like on the office floor surrounded by everybody, and the producer's literally sitting right there just looking at like me like, are you fucking serious, buddy? Yeah. Anyway, eventually that tech lead left and went back to Germany. But it was a working environment. We did work there. Real serious work. My very first task was 30 days. I rolled in. I had never written a server before. They hired me to write a C++ server, and I was like, I'm a server engineer. I write servers. This is great. So what I did, like, the story of me getting hired is something else entirely, but I'll just update my my channel title to Game Dev Storytime while compiling. C++ Game Dev. But yeah, I got there and I was hired to write C++ servers because that was my training in Digipen, was write C++. And they didn't teach us anything about servers at Digipen. So my idea of a server was just, basically a frickin' while loop that accepted TCP socket connections and did some bullshit, which is always fun. So I got there, I showed up, and they're like, okay, so cool. We told you you're gonna write C++ servers. You're not. You're gonna write Java servers. I'm like, that's cool. I've never written a damn thing in Java. And they're like, awesome. So also, they're not gonna be Windows servers. They're going to be Linux servers. And I'm like, great. I've never used Linux. And they're like, okay. So and the database is gonna be MySQL. You know about databases, right? It's like, I don't know shit about databases. I use text files. So, so basically, I show up and I'm like the most unqualified person on the planet to do this job. And they also gave me, like, I didn't get our desk. I didn't get a desk. I got a corner of a desk. So like, the width of my keyboard, like that much. My desk was narrower than that because it was just a corner of a desk. And what ended up happening was they stuck me in the corner of a desk with sharing a cubicle with 2 other people. And they put me over the vent. So I'm in the corner and like my desk is literally right over a vent that's blowing cold air the whole freaking day up my shorts. Because California, you wear shorts. And my first task when I got there was the producer slapped a sticky note on the board and it said write a server, and 30 days was the estimate that he put on there. You have a month, go write a server. So that's what I did. And it was awful. The server that I wrote was just garbage. Just I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But it worked. That was the fun part. Is we actually went from like 0 to servers and everything. Not because we knew what the hell we were doing. You have to write a car database, like make, model, color. What kind of database are you running with Stealth Mountain? Yeah, that was a fun thing. Well, it depends. Databases can be tricky in terms of all that. Are you writing an actual database in C? Storing Alright, so you're storing values in a CSV file and you're writing like a database program that I assume you call it over a certain point with a protocol and you have like a CRUD interface on it. CRUD standing for like create, read, update, delete. Sorting and stuff, yeah. And you're doing it in C. Alright, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good assignment, actually. We had some pretty good assignments in college. I think my favorite one was we had to make a robot car simulation where these robot cars were going around this grid, and you had to have the robot cars map the grid, and kind of the idea was that the world was like a minefield, and some of the yeah, that sounds pretty good. So the world is a minefield. It's a grid with mines on it, and the way that these robots map out the minefield is by just driving straight into the mines. And when they explode, you make a new robot and you send it out, and you just you make sure it doesn't go into the field that has the square that has the mine on it. So that was a really fun programming assignment because like not only had to do like 2D grid searching and all that stuff, but the professor actually took the time to explain to us about robots and using robots to clear a minefield by suiciding into the mines. He was also a Russian dude with like a really heavy accent, so you couldn't understand a damn thing he said. So it was a legit programming class. Oh man, we're building the material editor now. This is exciting. Yeah, those poor robots. Let's see, any other fun stories? Yeah. And the guy said probably for everything. Like always probably this, probably that, most probably something. So there's like this scale of probablys. There's like probably, probably, most probably, most probably, most probably, and most probably. That was kind of the likelihood of something happening. That was the scale of probablys. Fairy sheep? Yeah. And this guy couldn't pronounce cows and pigs. He would call them caws and pags. It was great. He was probably one of the better C++ teachers. Fairy sheep. We have these fairy sheep. Did you just assume that ship's gender? Yeah. I think my favorite assignment in college was we had to build robot cars in CS105 the first year, and so what we did is they give us an RC car base, and you slapped a microcontroller on it, pick microcontroller, and we're writing the assembly code for the microcontroller so that you could navigate this car around a maze. It had to navigate around a maze was the first thing in the assignment, and the second thing is it had to do something cool, quote unquote. So you could pick anything for your something cool. Like one of them, somebody had it so it had a light sensor on it, and when like the light went out, you'd turn the lights off, and the car would just start playing music and then like moving back and forth, like it was dancing. Like that was something cool that you could do. Programmed to play soccer. Yeah, it's a pretty classic one. But for my robot car, I was like, no, I'm gonna have my robot cars, quote unquote, something cool, be something cool. So I strapped airsoft guns to this thing and hotwired them to the microcontroller, so that it was basically like you got the car right, and it's got 4 wheels because it's a car and cars have 4 wheels. There were 2 airsoft machine guns, and I like duct taped them to this thing, and they were hotwired up into the microcontroller. There used to be 3 machine guns on it, like kind of like the nacelles on the future Enterprise. But when I hotwired the 3rd gun, it actually melted half of the gun because the batteries, I lost an airsoft gun to electricity. So what I did was I strapped that on there, rigged it so if you pass 5 volts over bus 2, that it actually starts firing. Just like I had this big hopper of airsoft BBs. And then what I did is I wanted it to be like a mock like terrorist